ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Flecha, and welcome to a very special edition of Strictly Sports as we are going to preview the New Year's Six Bowls, including the college football playoff national semifinal matchups. As always, I'm alongside Anthony Florio and Michael Bullock. I am Michael Flecha, and gentlemen, we're not going to waste any time. We are going to start it right now, and the first New Year's Six bowl game is going to be the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. It's going to be played at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta, GA, and it is going to be the number 9 Florida State Seminoles against the number 18 Houston Cougars. This game will be on ESPN and through the Watch ESPN app. The game will be kicked off at 12 Eastern Time. Dave Pesch, Bob Greasy, and Tom Luganville will call for this game. And Anthony Florio has already gone on the record, and this is what he says. Anthony Florio has gone and said that I have Florida State winning the Peach Bowl. Florida State just has too much experience in bowl-tying games. Sean McGuire will have a solid game. Devin Cook is going to go off, and Kermit Whitfield and the receiving corps will have a big game as well. Defense is top-notch. Houston will hang base on their quarterback, Greg Ward's body of work, but Florida State will win the game. He predicts it's going to be 45-35. The Seminoles will win the Peach Bowl. Michael Bullock, what do you say about the Peach Bowl, Florida State versus Houston?
All right, thank you very much, Michael Flecha. Hello, friends. This is Mike Bullock here for our special edition of Strictly Sports, previewing the New Year's Six bowl games. So, yeah, this first one here, I mean, with the Peach Bowl with Houston and Florida State, I mean, yeah, I got to agree with Florio. I mean, I got Florida State winning this one. I mean, they just got too much experience, and Houston, I mean, they're having a good season, but they're going up against a team that's pretty much been there, done that, and I mean, Houston with what they've had a really good season, and so I mean, of course, they're led by Greg Ward Jr., who had a really good season, not just throwing the ball, but also running as well. So, but yes, of course, Florida State with Sean McGuire, who's been playing well. Same with Dalvin Cook. Yeah. So. And the thing is, for Houston, they're playing in their first major bowl game since the 1985 Cotton Bowl. So this is a big moment for Houston. And here's another thing: this will mark the first meeting between these two schools since 1978, and the Cougars They actually have a 12-2 advantage in the series, so they do have some. They've had they've had some success, but in the end, Florida State is just too much. I got Florida State winning this one. My final score for me, I'm going to say 38. I'm going to go 38-27. It's going to be my final score. I mean, I think Houston will be in it. They'll give Florida State some fits, but in the end, Florida State, as I said so many times, they're just too much. So give me the Florida State Seminoles to win the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. So, Fletcher, I give it to you.
Yeah, Michael, well, like, no doubt about it. I also have to say this is Florida State's game to win. They just look a lot better than anything else in this game. And the thing is that the battles that they have is that, yes, it was really a shocker when you heard that these two teams were going to be the teams that are going to go at it, when the committee made the announcement that this was going to be the bowl game that we were going to see. And I know a lot of fans were really wondering, wow, the Peach Bowl, and it was going to be Florida State and Houston. Florida State, that's an at-large. They are actually 7 to 7.5 point favorites going into that game. It's really going to be an interesting matchup. And I think Anthony Florio did harp on something very good. Greg Greg Ward Jr. and Devin Cook, two very explosive, dynamic players. I think these two guys are going to really set the place. It's going to set the Georgia Dome on fire. Definitely a great battle, but a big loss for Florida State is that Everett Golston is out. He will not play in this Peach Bowl, and maybe that might be one of those things that we got to talk about. However, when you got Ryan Izzo, who's become really an unsung hero for Florida State this season, and the remarkable season that he's had, I truly believe at the end of the day, Florida State will win the Peach Bowl. My final score is 35-28. I got Florida State winning the Peach Bowl. There is really nothing more to say about it. Guys, now it's time to get serious. The first of the two national semifinal games and the jumpstart of the college football playoff. Number one, Clemson Tigers versus the number 4 Oklahoma Sooners in the Orange Bowl from Sun Life Stadium in Miami, Florida. And the Oklahoma Sooners are 3 to 3.5 point favorites going into this game. Michael Bullock, you lead off on the Orange Bowl. Oh, hold on, Bullock. Before you actually jump into this, I'm sorry, I forgot to give you the announcers for the game. It is Brad Nessler, Todd Blackledge, and Holly Rowe. Now, Michael Bullock, it's all yours.
All right. Yes. This is a game I'm definitely looking forward to when it comes to this in the college football playoff. And I mean, here's the thing. I mean, last year you played in the Russell Athletic Bowl, where where Clemson won that one 40-6. So, and now here they are, the same two teams a year later playing in the college football playoff national semifinal with a chance to play for the national championship. I think anyone would have thought that. Yeah, I mean, here they are now, basically 2 wins away from going 15-0 and a national championship, and what a year it's been for them. Led by reigning coach of the year, Dabo Sweeney. Deshaun Watson had a really good year, but he did finish third in the Heisman Trophy, but he did get the ACC Offensive Player of the Year, and of course on defense they're led, of course, by All-American Shaq Lawson. So, and here's the thing for Clemson, of course, they've outscored their opponents 500 to 263 this season. So, yeah, so that's really something that really shows you how powerful their offense is. And of course, Clemson got to the college football playoff by beating North Carolina in the ACC championship game, and this is not their first trip to Sun Life Stadium. Remember, they beat Miami 58-0 earlier in the year, so they're back here again to see if they can get to the national championship. So, and of course for the Oklahoma Sooners, of course, what a year it's been for them. Of course, winning the Big 12 title, which is their 9th in 17 seasons under head coach Bob Stoops. And yeah, so they'll be looking for they'll be looking to try to get to the national championship. But here's the thing. I mean, things didn't look good for Oklahoma early in the season. I mean, they had a mid-season loss to Texas in that Red River rivalry, but they ended up getting there by winning 7 in a row by a combined score of 364 to 136. And here's the thing. I mean, this for both schools, this will be the fifth meeting between. Well, of course, Oklahoma, of course, is basically, of course, led by Baker Mayfield with what a season he's had. Of course, 35 touchdown passes and of course also and of course they're also led by so their offense is definitely really good and of course when it comes to both teams, this will be the fifth meeting ever between these two schools. Both are 2-2. I mean, Oklahoma won regular season games in 1960, 63 and 72 against Clemson, while Clemson won bowl matchups against Oklahoma in 1989 and of course last season. So yeah, so man, this is going to be a tough one to call here for me. Oh man, this is tough. But in the end, I gotta go with the Clemson Tigers to win this one. Oklahoma, they'll be in it all the way. They'll really give Clemson fits. I think it's going to be high scoring. So my final score, I'm going to go Clemson 45, Oklahoma 38. Deshaun Watson's going to have a big game, and yeah, I mean, Baker Mayfield and that Oklahoma Sooners offense will be in it, but in the end, I just think that Clemson's the better team. So would I be surprised if Oklahoma won? No, I wouldn't be surprised. So, but in the end, Clemson, I got them winning this one. So, Fletch, $1 million question: who's going on to the national championship?
Michael Bullock.
Oklahoma or Clemson?
All right. I gotta say this was a tough decision. However, we did just found out. Well, I just found out some major breaking news. Just before the game that's supposed to go down tomorrow, 3 Clemson players have been sent home. Deon Kane, their key wide receiver, their kicker, Armand Lickup, and J.J. McCullough have all been suspended for the Orange Bowl game. They've been sent home due to drug test failures. All three members failed drug tests prior to coming into this game. They've all been suspended. They've all been sent back to Clemson University, so they will not play. This is major repercussions.
That's news to me.
Yeah, and this is damaging news. If you're a Clemson Tiger fan, because of the fact that, especially with Kane was their best wide receiver. That was their deep ball threat. That was their biggest player that they had. And listen to this, guys. And this is how damaging him not being involved in this game. This year alone, he had 34 receptions for 582 yards and 5 touchdowns in the basically he had 582 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns on 34 receptions, and yeah, he wasn't really a very vocal point, but he was their deep ball threat. Especially he was very quiet, very limited in the ACC championship game. He was only held to 2 catches for 12 yards. But, I mean, there were some games the biggest game he had all season long, as a matter of fact, was the rivalry game against South Carolina, where he had 5 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown in that game, and he averaged about 90 yards per game during the season. So, an average catch of almost 17 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, and he was their deep ball threat. And now he is sitting behind in the big game itself. Um, that definitely will change the complexion of the game. Of course, JJ. Let me see. And then, of course, when we talk about the other suspension, we had a kicker, and who else did I say? J.J. McCullough also got suspended. And you see, it's scrolling very slowly. Yeah, J.J. McCullough, the tight end for Clemson, and they are sitting out on this game. J.J. McCullough is a junior. I mean, he was very limited. He had only 11 catches. Well, he only caught. He wasn't really that influential this season. In his career, he's only had 113 yards and 11 catches for 1 touchdown. So, I mean, he did more of his damage, a couple of years ago. He was pretty much inactive this year, a lot of injuries suffering, but now he is sitting out the biggest game of the year, and absolute, big time upset. And the thing is that, yes, I know a lot of people are loving Clemson because they are undefeated. They've had an amazing season, to say the very least. But Oklahoma has really turned it around, guys. And I think that's the one thing that I think we kind of have to really start recognizing is, yes, other than that embarrassing defeat that they suffered against Texas earlier in the year, I think Oklahoma is more dangerous than ever before, and a lot of people believe that they could win this game. And the reason why they're saying that is, look who they beat in the Big 12 Conference. I mean, at the beginning of the year, a lot of people were like, oh, the Big 12's game disrespected, the Big 12's game disrespected. Understandable. But then they beat TCU, they beat Oklahoma State, they beat Baylor, and they beat them pretty handily, to say the very least. And those are the best 3 teams in the conference. And they knocked them out with ease. And, of course, Clemson has been really good, but they really didn't. They beat in a very, I don't want to say inferior ACC conference, because I'm not going to knock the ACC. I mean, I'd be absolutely stupid to take a swipe at the ACC because I respect them so much. But if you look at the body of work, Clemson really hasn't had a major battle or a major fight that they've dealt with, where with Oklahoma, especially at the very end of the season, they got lucky with Notre Dame, Anthony Florio. I think we all can agree. If it wasn't for that missed 2-point conversion, I think we all can agree that Notre Dame was probably going to beat Clemson in that game. So I kind of disagree about the Florida State thing too. So at the end of the day, I'm going to disagree with Michael Bullock. I'm going with Oklahoma to win this game, and I do believe they're going to move on to the national championship. 35-31 is my final. Oklahoma wins this game. Anthony Florio has now posted his prediction as well. He says, very tough call. I know the experts are going with Oklahoma, and why not? But to me, Clemson is totally disrespected, and it's not right. Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield will have a monster game, and Samari Pierre and Joe Moxon will have solid games. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard, and D.D. Westbrook will have solid games as well. As for Clemson, Deshaun Watson will have a huge game. Wayne Gilliam will will have a big game as well. Artemis Scott, well, now you know Deion Kane will not play, should have solid games as well. Love both teams' body of work, but at the end of the day, I have to respectfully disagree with the experts, and I guess he'll disagree with me and go with Clemson to win this game. His final score 48-41. Clemson moves on, according to Anthony Florio. So now we're going to go into the second national semifinal matchup, and it's going to be played. It is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. It is the Alabama Crimson Tide, the number 2 team in the nation at 12-1, the SEC champions, to go up against Big Ten champions, the number 3 seed, the Michigan State Spartans. Alabama is a 10-point to 10.5-point favorite in this game, and it will be broadcast by Chris Fowler, Kirk Street, and Holly Rowe. The game will be played at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. All right, guys, it's my turn. This is going to be an absolute thriller of a match. And actually, just to also let you know, Tom Rinaldi will also be a part of this crew. Anthony Florio wanted me to express that as well. And it is basically the teacher versus the student. The teacher is Nick Saban, and one of his old disciples was Mark D'Antonio. And what a season for both teams. I think for Alabama, it's really no big surprise. I think a lot of people expected them to be here at the end to fight for the national championship. And for Michigan State, they were kind of, I don't want to say left out last year. A lot of people thought maybe they could have gotten in, could have gotten a break here. This time they did get the break. They're in it. They're playing for at least the right to move on to the national title game, where the game will be played in Glendale, Arizona. Now, where do I go? Who do I pick? This is really tough and a tough call. But when you got the Heisman Trophy winner, Henry from Alabama, I think he's going to run all over this defense. And this defense is definitely going to be a great defense. Don't get me wrong. Connor Cook is an absolute stud. And when I mean a stud, I mean a stud. Connor Cook has been amazing all season long. He easily could have made an argument that he deserved to be in, the Heisman Trophy conversation. But he did get hurt a little bit towards the end of the season, and that ruined their season. And trust me, going into it, they almost never even got a glimpse at the playoffs because of the fact that they practically should have lost to the Michigan Wolverines, but a real lucky break, a botch snap on a punt right at the gun, and then a punt block recovered by Michigan State, and they run it all the way back for the game-winning touchdown. Then to knock off the Ohio State University, which was practically one of their biggest games of the year, they won that game. They had no problem dismantling Iowa in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis, and that's why they're here playing for the national championship. This is a real tight game. It's going to come down to the wire, I believe. But at the end of the day, I gotta go with Alabama to win. I think they're just too good, too strong. I think the teacher will give the pupil a lesson in this game, and I believe that Alabama will win this one. My final score is 31-24. Alabama wins and moves on to play Oklahoma for the national championship in Glendale, Arizona on January 10th. Michael Bullock, what says you?
Yeah, yeah, like you said, this is going to be a tough one right here. I mean, you got two really good teams in Michigan State and Alabama. So, yeah, of course, Alabama. I mean, what can you say? I mean, things didn't look good when they lost to Ole Miss, but they turned it around, and of course now here they are in the college football playoff with a chance to possibly win another national championship under Nick Saban. Of course, Michigan State, of course, with getting in by winning the Big Ten title, of course. But I do agree. I got to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide to win this one. I mean, they're just too good. I mean, especially when you got the reigning Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry. You got a defense that's basically played really good, and I mean, Michigan State will give Alabama fits throughout most of the game. I mean, especially with Connor Cook, and I mean, and of course they also have some of their own rushers, of course, with the Madre London, Gerald Holmes, and but like I said, Alabama's too good, and I just don't see how Michigan State can win this one. I got Alabama winning this one. I'm going to say my final score. It's going to be 27-24. Alabama wins this one. So really got nothing more to say except let's move on to our next game in the New Year's Six. So let's move on.
All right, well, I want to give Anthony Florio's thoughts real quick, and he says it's basically a teacher versus student matchup. The student, Mark D'Antonio, versus the teacher, Nick Saban. Looking forward, looking more forward to this matchup, other than the other by a smidge. Potential five-star classic with a chock full of the finest Shakespearean drama you'll ever see. Connor Cook will have a solid game. Running back by committee of Madre London and R.J. Scott should have solid game. Receiving core, Aaron Bobridge and McGarrett King Jr. should have solid games. Alabama quarterback Jake Cocker will have a solid game, and Derrick Henry will show that his Heisman win was no fluke. The receiving core led by Calvin Ridley should also have a solid game. The defense led by Manich Fitzpatrick will fluster and frustrate Connor Cook and company all game long. So with that said, I have Alabama winning 24-21, and Anthony has Alabama going to the national championship game to play against Clemson on January 11th. I said January 10th is actually Monday night, January 11th, from Glendale, Arizona, at the University of Phoenix Stadium. That game will be on ESPN. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Heather Cox, and Tom Rinaldi will have that game for you. All right, so now the next game we're going to cover is the Battle Frog Fiesta Bowl. Oddly enough, the game is going to be played in Glendale, Arizona. The game will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is going to be the number 8 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They will go up against the Ohio State Buckeyes, and the Ohio State Buckeyes are the favorites by 6 to 6.5 One actually has it at a full 7-point favorite. Michael Bullock, what do you say about the Battle Frog Fiesta Bowl? Who you got, my friend?
Yeah, this should be another good one. Of course, I mean, the both of these two teams had a chance to actually be in the college football playoff, but some either losses or winning closely to teams that they're supposed to beat is a reason why they're playing in the Fiesta Bowl. But that still ain't bad playing in it. But yeah, of course, I mean Notre Dame. Of course, they got here. Of course, led by Deshaun Kazir, who had to basically step in for Malik Sire because of the knee of the or should I say the ankle injury, and they're also of course led by C.J. Prosty, who had a 1,032 yards rushing this season, and yeah, of course, Jaron Jones and tight end, yeah, Jaron Jones, the nose tackle, and Durham Smythe, they returned to practice, but they hope to play in the game, of course. Yeah, so and of course Ohio State, of course, they had a little bit of an up and down season, but of course, because of the quarterback situation, whether it was with Cardell Jones or J.T. Barrett, but you still got Ezekiel Elliott with with the season he had, but and of course, they were really good defensively too. So this is another tough one, but in the end, I just think Ohio State's the much better team. Of course, when you got like I said, running back Ezekiel Elliott, and of course, I mean Cardell Jones and J.T. Barrett. I mean, who knows? Maybe we could see both of them, and of course, they're also led defensively, of course, by uh, defensive end Joey Bosa. So I got Ohio State winning this one. My final score for me is going to be Ohio State 28, Notre Dame 24. So Flecha, I give it to you.
Yes, I think this is going to be the most compelling matchup of one of the more compelling matchups, and I really got to say that this is going to be very exciting for me because of the fact that I this is an absolute unbelievable matchup, and I think when the fans found out that this was going to be one of the games, and when they announced that this was going to be one of the matchups, I think people literally fell out of their chairs and went absolutely bonkers because I mean, when you got these two teams going at it, this is two college football powerhouses, and they're gonna go right at each other. I mean, if you want to talk about, and everybody's, I know Anthony Florio talks about, you know, the Mount Rushmore of college teams and where it's Duke, UCLA, North Carolina, when you got like Michigan State, Kentucky. I mean, you can go on and on about the Mount Rushmores of college football. These are two teams that you could honestly say is in the Mount Rushmore of college football. I mean, especially Notre Dame, the pedigree that they have, the legacy that they have. I mean, they're like, what, 8-time national champions? And then you got the Ohio State Buckeyes, multiple time they've won the Big Ten championship, multiple national champions. You know, they were just, and oddly enough, they were the national champions from 1 year ago, and they won the inaugural college football playoff national title. So, I mean, these are two teams going at it. Glendale, Arizona, you hit the jackpot on this one, man. Other than probably the two biggest games, which is the college football playoff, this is probably number three of like of the New Year's Six. This is like the third biggest game of the entire New Year's Six bowl games. So without a doubt, this is the most exciting, most compelling matchup of all. But at the end of the day, I gotta go with Michael Bullock. I gotta say it's gonna be Ohio State winning the game. Joey Bosa, when you got Cardell Jones, you got so many weapons, from Braxton Miller, who's playing unbelievable from a wide receiver. You could flex him out in any type of a realistic game. I just feel that at the end of the day, Ohio State's going to have enough, but their defense of Notre Dame is top notch. They're one of the top defenses in the country. So you can't just say, oh, they're going to run all over them, they're going to dominate. That ain't going to happen. Anybody who's thinking this is going to be up in the like the 40s or the 30s, you ain't going to get that game. I disagree. No way in heck you're going to get that. At the end of the day, I'm going with Ohio State to win by the final score of 24-21. That's my prediction. That's what I feel about it. Anthony Florio, he goes with this. Of course, I want Notre Dame to win, but let's be realistic. I have Ohio State winning. Don't get me wrong. Notre Dame will give Ohio State fits. Deshaun Case here will have a big game. CJ Poisier will have a solid game, and Will Fuller, who I consider the best wide receiver in Notre Dame history, will have a monster breakout game, as well as Amir Kazir and Torrey Hunter Jr. and Chris Brown. As for Ohio State quarterback JT Barrett will have an efficient game like he always does. Ezekiel Elliott will be the star for Ohio State with the receiving core of Michael Thomas and Braxton Miller and company. Will have big games, but the defense will be the difference maker, especially Joey Bosa. Give me the Buckeyes 38-35. Even though I want Notre Dame to win with all my heart, I have to be realistic and pick Ohio State. All right. So next up, we have, okay, this is where a big smile in my face is going to come up right now because it is the granddaddy of them all. The 2016 Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual, number 5, and Big Ten runner-up, the the Iowa Hawkeyes goes up against the Big 12 champion Stanford Cardinals, and it is Brent Musburger, Jesse Palmer, and Maria Taylor. You will be looking live from the Rose Bowl Stadium in Pasadena, California, and Stanford is a 6-point favorite going into the game. You know what? I'll do it. I'll lead off in the. You know what? No, I'm not going to lead off in this. Michael Bullock, I'm going to let you lead off, and then I'll come right behind you. So, Bullock, the Rose Bowl game, the granddaddy of them all, who you got?
All right. Yeah. I mean, what a game this is going to be. At the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, and I can't wait to hear Brett Musburger say, "You are looking live from the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California." Of course, of course, Iowa. Of course, I mean, for the Stanford Cardinal, I mean, well, this isn't their first ever rodeo in the Rose Bowl. I mean, this will be their third Rose Bowl appearance in 4 years. Of course, they got there by beating USC in the Pac-12 title game, and yeah, of course they're led by of course uh, Heisman Trophy runner-up Christian McCaffrey with, I mean, what a season he had. I mean, 3,496 yards. I mean, and what he had a school record 461 total yards against the Trojans. So you know they're going to be relying on him. But yeah, but of course, well, Iowa, they also have a really good running game, of course, led by Jordan Canzeri. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But you know, Christian McCaffrey's going to have a really big game when it comes for Stanford, and yeah, and of course, Iowa hasn't won the Rose Bowl since January 1st, 1959. So, and remember, yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. So, but in the end, who do I think is going to win this? I think this could be another high-scoring game, but I gotta go with the Stanford Cardinal in this one. I just think they're the much better team, especially when you got Kevin Hogan and Heisman Trophy runner-up Christian McCaffrey. So I'm going to say 38-34. Stanford will beat Iowa and win the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. So, Flecha, I give it to you.
This is, you know what? I'm going to say it like this, guys. Out of all the bowl games of the New Year's Six, this is the one that kind of lump in my throat because it is the classic battle. Big Ten, Pac-12, they go at it, and it's tradition. It is absolute tradition. Fans love this battle year in and year out. And for me, this is when they call this the granddaddy of them all, it's because this is the biggest one of all. It's the one with the most richest history because it dates back to way back, almost the early 1900s is where this game was originated. And it's really one of the first major bowl games we've ever had in the history of the game. And think about this, guys. I mean, like I said, when you talk about the Rose Bowl game, you know, it's almost like I said, it's a lineage, and it goes and like I said, it has always been one of the biggest battles that ever gets presented. And think about this, guys. I mean, the original game, the first ever Rose Bowl game that was ever played in the history of the game. I mean, we gotta go. Let me see. It actually dates back to 1902. Goes all back to 1902, and since that time, this game has become the biggest and best game ever. And oddly enough, and here's the crazy thing, the original game, the game that was played in 1902, believe it or not, it was not in Pasadena, California. Oh no. The original game, the original game that they had was back in an old stadium called Tournament Park. That's where the original game was played. It was in Pasadena, California. It was called Tournament Park, and it was actually at the University of the California Institute of Technology. That's where the game originated from. That's where it first started. Then there was a time where it actually moved and was played in Durham, North Carolina in 1942. It was actually played in Durham, North Carolina at the Duke Stadium. And that was when they actually took over and ran with the Rose Bowl game. But after that, it went back to Pasadena, and it became the Rose Bowl Stadium. And since that day, the Rose Bowl has become literally and truly the biggest game of the year. And without a doubt, the stadium itself has been unbelievable. The the game has taken a life of its own. And to go and figure, the Stanford Cardinals are making their 15th Rose Bowl game. They've won 6 of them, lost 7, and has one tie in their history. And for the Iowa Hawkeyes, this is their 6th Rose Bowl game, and their career record is 2-3 going into this game on New Year's Day. With that said, who do I go with? I I gotta go with I gotta go, and in my opinion, I truly believe Stanford will win this game. The thing is that a lot of people were very down on Iowa all season long because of the fact that they never really had that major competition in the Big Ten Conference. When they when they ran into Michigan State, they got stomped and lost. So with that said, I'm sorry, I gotta go with Stanford. I think they're gonna win this game. I got Stanford winning. Anthony Florio goes and says this. He said, this Rose Bowl game has the potential to be one of the greatest Rose Bowl games of all time. Kevin Hogan will have a solid and efficient game like he usually does. Christian McCaffrey will be the MVP of this game. I have him going off with big numbers in a big-time performance. The receiving corps led by Duane Cassell, who killed Notre Dame, by the way, will have a big game as well, and a top-notch defense. Seiji Best will have a solid game. Jordan Kaziri should have a big game, and the receiving corps should be okay. But Stanford is too much. He says Stanford's going to win the game. Anthony, please give me the score. Just waiting on it. He said Stanford will mainly win because of McCaffrey. Like I said, the running back, he's had an unbelievable year, so he believes that he will be the most valuable player when this is all said and done. 38-28 is his final score. All right, so let's get into the final New Year's Six Bowl game. It's going to be Oklahoma State versus Ole Miss. This will be the Old State Sugar Bowl. It'll be Bob Susan with Brock Hewitt and Shannon Spate. The game will be played at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. All the games are going to be played on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. And for all you Spanish-speaking people, people who want to you don't have to utilize your SAP button on this one. If you actually log on to ESPN2, you'll actually get to see the game in Espanol. So for all you guys out there, that's how they're going to break it down for you guys. So who do I got in this game? Well, I got to go with Oklahoma State. I don't know why. Oklahoma State seems like the more sexier pick. You know, they played a really good conference and everything else. I know Ole Miss had a couple of bad losses along the way, and I just feel like Ole Miss is just, I don't know. I just feel like they're gonna have a good performance, not great, but I love Oklahoma State. I love their body of work. I love this team. At the end of the day, I'm going to go with Oklahoma State to win this game. There's really not much details I'm going to give. I just think OK State will get the job done. They'll win this game. My final score is I think it's going to be a 31-24 final. Michael Bullock, what says you?
Yeah, I do agree. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma State as well. Of course I just think they're a much better team, especially offensively. Ole Miss, I mean they are, they're a good team, but they had that big win, of course, against Alabama, but they've but in the end, I just think Oklahoma State's just a much better team. So give me the Cowboys to win this one. Uh, my final score for me is going to be I'm going to go I'm going to go 38-24 is going to be my final score. So that being said, do we do we get Florio's prediction yet?
Yeah, actually, Anthony Florio is posting his prediction right now. He says Oklahoma State wins because they are loaded offensively. Mason Rudolph will go off, and don't be surprised if backup J.W. Walsh gets some reps as well. Walsh is a great running quarterback as well. Rudolph is a flamethrower. Running game is so receiving core led by James Washington. Washington will have a huge game. For Ole Miss, he said Chad Kelly will have a solid game. The running game is so as well. I'm sorry, guys. Anthony Floyd was probably typing as fast as he can. We kind of handcuffed it on this one, but he is giving us all of his views and thoughts. And he says that Laquan Treadwell will have a huge game. He says that Oklahoma State will win it. Just give me the final score, Florio, please. And he says the final score will be. He says at the end, Oklahoma State will win a shootout. Oh, you're saying high scoring. Okay. What you got? 51-45. Wow. Okay, Florio. I don't know if it's going to be that high, but okay, I'll give you that. All right, guys. So that's it for the college football New Year's 6. But hold the phones. We're not done yet. I got one more little surprise for all you fans out there. Okay, on New Year's Day, there's a little NHL game called the Winter Classic. And this year, it's going to be in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And we are going to preview that game right here, right now. So, with that said, Michael Bullock, give me your thoughts about the Montreal Canadiens versus your Boston Bruins. Who do you got in the Winter Classic?
Boy, you got the one of the NHL's biggest rivalries, of course, playing in the Winter Classic. Of course, and of course, we did find out some breaking news. Brad Marchand is not going to be playing in this game. He has been suspended for 3 games, so that's a little bit of a loss for them. But you still got Tuukka Rask, you still got Patrice Bergeron. Jimmy he came on strong with a hat trick against the Senators. So yeah, but of course you're still without David Krejci. But the Montreal Canadiens, they've struggled a little bit too. But you still, Carey Price is not playing like the same goalie that he but he's still got PK Subban and the rest of that team. So, but man, I can't wait. I mean, to see the uniforms that they're going to be wearing. Foxborough, I mean Gillette Stadium, known for Patriots football, is going to be doing. I mean, I saw the picture of what the hockey rink looks like. It looks perfect. So, with that being said, I'm going to go with the Boston Bruins to win this one. My final score for me, I'm going to go Boston Bruins 3, Montreal Canadiens 2. Can it top the Winter Classic that we saw back in 2010 with the Bruins and the Flyers and the Winter Classic at Fenway Park? I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait and find out. So, but give me the Boston Bruins to win this one. So it should be a fun game. So, Fletch, your thoughts on this Winter Classic?
This is absolutely one of the greatest. This has become such a phenomenon in the NHL, and we always bash the NHL for a lot of bad things that Gary Bettman has done to the league for a number of years. I think Gary Bettman needs to be applauded, give him a pat on the back, and even say, way to go, because this was one of the best concepts they ever did. Bring in the Winter Classic, have this as one of your signature premier events in all of the National Hockey League, other than the Stanley Cup playoffs, and mainly and probably the NHL All-Star Game, which I don't think it's got that much luster anymore, but this has become almost a big deal for the National Hockey League, and the ratings for this game has been going higher and higher and higher in the last few years. When they first brought this to the world, when we were in Ralph Wilson Stadium in Buffalo, New York, when it was the Buffalo Sabres and the Pittsburgh Penguins, I believe it was 2008, when this thing got brought into the NHL conscious, and we saw that game for the first time and how awesome it was. I truly believe they had something going. And year after year, the game has become bigger and bigger and bigger. And the thing is that for us, this is awesome. I cannot wait to see this game, to see it in all its glory, in all its luster. The stadium looks absolutely phenomenal. I mean, they had 12 days to get this from a football stadium to a hockey arena, and they have done absolutely a bang-up job doing it. I'm at a loss for words. Now, going into the game, and now I'm going to go a little professor knowledge on you guys. Not too much, because I'm not really the Barry Melrose or the Bill Clement. I'm more of the Gary Thorne, the Mike Emmerich. I'm more of that. Anthony Florio is more of the Thorne Clement. He's more of, I'll even throw in Darren Peng, because he's more like that. He's more of our analyst of the crew. I'm more of the lead commentator of the crew. But offensively, the Bruins are unbelievably gotten better. They are number 2 in goals. They score about almost 3 a game. Number 5 in shots. They got the number 1 power play in all of the NHL right now with a 29.4 success rate. They're shooting at 10%, which is 7th best in the league. And in face-off wins, they win about 51% of the time, 51.2, which ties them 6th best. The problem that Boston has is their defense. They're not really good at defense. They surrender more goals than usual. Tuukka Rask normally averages about 2.67. He has 2.41. Michael Bullock, Carey Price is not playing in the game. It's actually Cardone that's actually going to be the lead guy. He's running it for the Canadiens going into this game. At the end of the day, like you said, I think it's going to be an exciting matchup. I would not be shocked if this goes into overtime. I don't. I think this might go into overtime. At the end of the day, I got the Bruins winning it 3-2 in OT. I think we're gonna get some bonus hockey out of this. So Anthony Florio. Oh, I guess you're gonna go for it. All right, kid. Do the Bill Clement thing. I hope your throat's good enough. What do you say about the Winter Classic?
I told you all I was going to have a surprise now, didn't I? So, yes, hello friends, Anthony Florio here with you for this. It's getting better, I'll tell you right now. So hopefully next time we're with you, which will be Saturday night, I'll be back to my usual jovial self, but it wasn't going to be strong enough to do all the college football action, but there was no way I was going to miss this, because this is my wheelhouse. This is where I become the Barry Melrose, the Bill Clement, like Flecha said. The Montreal Canadiens, I'll tell you what, guys, they started this year off so well. I mean, they were one of the hot hands in the NHL earlier on in this season. But then again, so were the New York Rangers and what's happened to them as of late. Even though, much to the delight of myself and Michael Flecha and our good friend out in Los Angeles, California, Eric Peterson, the Rangers got their much long-awaited revenge on those Dinkelberg Tampa Bay Lightning. Oh yeah, revenge is a dish best served cold, and boy howdy, we gave them a nice cold dish of that tonight, 5-2 at Amalie Arena tonight. So that's all there is to it on that. But the Rangers, they were struggling before. But Montreal, what has happened to Montreal? I'll tell you what's happened. Injuries. Carey Price has been dealing with nagging injuries. Tokarski's been no better. Heck, they're not even leading the Atlantic Division right now, guys. Do you know who's leading the Atlantic Division? Not Montreal. Not even Boston. They're both looking up at the Florida Panthers.
Oh, that's right. Panthers are leading it.
I said it right. The Florida Panthers are leading the Atlantic Division. What happened? Did what's those faces? Did John Van Beesbrook come walking through that door again? Did Scotty Mellenby come walking through that door? Did Tom Fitzgerald come walking through that door? I mean, this is the best. That's the best Panther team I've seen since the team that had that Cinderella run to the Stanley Cup Finals 20 years ago, back in '96. Of course, we all know Colorado and a certain young man by the name of, UA Krupp, one of Michael Fletch's all-time favorites. You know who I had to go there, Fletch. One of the greatest calls of all time. You and Mr. Thorne. Had to go there. But Florida leads the Atlantic Division, folks. Not Montreal, not Boston. Florida. Which also includes a rejuvenated Roberto Luongo and also discovering the fountain of youth, Jaromir Jagr, 43 years old, and he's still doing, and he's playing like he's back in Pittsburgh with Mario Lemieux, for goodness sakes. But Montreal and Boston, everybody knows it. It is the most prestigious rivalry in the NHL. There are other great ones, don't get me wrong. Like, when Montreal used to play Toronto back in the day. Or Toronto, basically back in the days of the original six. Chicago and the Rangers. Chicago and Detroit, of course. The Rangers in Boston. Rangers in Montreal. I could go on, but Montreal and Boston, no more intense rivalry than that one. But, tell you what. You take the greatest rivalry of all time, so many memorable Stanley Cup playoff matchups. You think of all the illustrious history of the Stanley Cup playoffs, even though Montreal has dominated it, mainly back in the 70s and the 80s, which included 2 Stanley Cup Finals, by the way. Many people don't know this. 1977, 1978, Montreal beat Boston, swept them 4 in a row, both years, and Montreal skated the cup in the Boston Garden. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow for Bruin fans, I'll tell you that right now. It's basically the NHL's version of the Yankees and the Red Sox, the Lakers and the Celtics, the Packers and the Bears, Duke, North Carolina, Ohio State, Michigan, and a whole lot more. So, Montreal's been dealing with nagging injuries. That's why they went from being a hot hand to a, not so much. Tale of 2 teams, Boston. Boston started, they stumbled out of the gate. Bullock should know that. Boston stumbled out of the gate, big time. But lately, they've been catching fire, especially last night. Like Bullock said, when the Bruins put a 7-3 whooping on the Ottawa Senators, thanks in large part to Jimmy Haynes and the hat trick. So, it's a no-brainer for me. I mean, even though Montreal still got their playmakers, you know, PK Subban and Max Pacioretty, who's their proven goal scorer, I got to go with the Boston Bruins to win this game because without Carey Price, Montreal's got no goaltending whatsoever. I mean, Tokarski, he's solid, but compared to Tuukka Rask and compared to how well the Bruins have been playing as of late and how much Montreal's been struggling, I'm going with the Boston Bruins to win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to OT either, Fletch. I mean, it should be a very exciting game, to say the very least. A game I'm very much looking forward to. I got to do some flipping because I'm going to be flipping between that and the Notre Dame-Ohio State game. I mean, you schedule makers, you Dinkelbergs, for having to put those 2 games on at the same time. That's not fair. That's not fair to Flair, man. Simple as that. So, that's all I'm saying. So, I'm thinking...
Yeah, as Bobby Heenan would say, it's not fair to Flair.
That's what I was going for, Bullock. So, I'm going to say maybe right around 3-2, maybe even as high as 4-3, possibly sudden death overtime. Boston Bruins win it because, let's be realistic, I mean, the home teams have done pretty well. But then again, the road teams have done well in Winter Classics too. But home team won last year, of course, the Washington Capitals, and they beat the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, I would have gone with Montreal. The only reason if Carey Price was playing, I maybe would have gone with Montreal to win. And because of all the road team's success, because, Pittsburgh won in Buffalo in 2008 at Ralph Wilson Stadium, 2009, Detroit in Chicago at Wrigley Field, they won that. Boston won at home 2010 at Fenway Park against Philadelphia. In 2011, Washington went into Heinz Field in Pittsburgh and beat the Penguins. Of course, 2012, much to the delight of myself and Michael Flecha, our Rangers rallied from a 2-0 deficit to beat Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park. That's why Fletch and I consider that best Winter Classic ever. Hello. And then, of course, 2013, there was no Winter Classic because of all the lockout nonsense. And then 2014, the Big House of Michigan, Toronto beats Detroit. That was a fun game to watch as well. And then, of course, like I said, last year, so even though the road team has dominated the Winter Classic, I'm going with the Boston Bruins because of the fact that they're the better team right now. And it's the fact that, they were the home team last time they played the Winter Classic. They won. So why not? I'm thinking Krejci's going to have a solid game. Chara should have a solid game as well. And, I like what Jimmy Haynes has been doing. I mean, Haynes has been a great pickup from Florida. I mean, he had that huge game against the Senators. I think we could see some more of him. I think Rask is far and away the superior goaltender. I mean, the Montreal injuries have been piling up, and this Montreal team is not the same team that I saw at the start of the season. At the start of the season, I thought it was going to be a two-team race in the East between the Rangers and Montreal because they were the two hottest teams. And I thought those two were going to be on a collision course to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I thought one of them, and I thought whoever came out of that was going to win the Stanley Cup. But to me right now, Boston wins this game. But as we go forward towards, as the season progresses, I mean, the one team that I think we got to watch out for right now, there's one team that we're not talking about right now that we should be, the Washington Capitals. They are to me the best team in the East right now. And if you're asking me who the best in the West is, there's no doubt about this. Far and away, it's the Dallas Stars.
Dallas, yep.
So to me, the Washington Capitals and the Dallas Stars are the two teams that I'm looking at right now as far as the favorites to possibly win the Stanley Cup. But, we got a lot of months to, dissect that. But even though I'm expecting some big things from Pacioretty and Subban and that rock steady defensive, I just think Krejci and Chara and Haynes and the goaltending of Rask is going to be just a little too much for Montreal to handle. Montreal's been terrible as of late. Boston's been playing their best hockey at the right time. So with that said, give me the Boston Bruins as low as 3-2, but no higher than 4-3. So Boston Bruins wins this NHL Winter Classic and make it 2 in a row for the home team after several years of road domination. So with that said, back to you, Doc.
All right, and with that, we're gonna say a good night. So what's gonna happen now is on Saturday night. Sounds like Anthony Florio is almost at 100%. He will host the NFL Saturday. He and Michael Bullock will dive into the remaining all Week 17 action. 16 games on the docket. All 32 teams are playing. There is no Monday night game. There is no Thursday night game. It's all going down on Sunday. Who is going to punch their ticket into the postseason? Who are going to be your division champions? Like I said, they will take over. And I am guessing at 10:30 Eastern, Anthony, or is that going to be, or will we going to have to wait for Michael Bullock and then you guys can make the decision then? Because I'm definitely out for Saturday night. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, you have your UFC event, I'm sure. Well, I already know that. So 10:30 is good for me, but the thing is,
it's all on Bullock.
Yeah, I'm guessing Bullock's probably going to be out and about, I'm sure. Ain't that right, Bullock?
Well, as of right now, yes, but we'll wait and see.
All right. So you know what? Then we'll do this. Keep a close eye on Anthony Florio's Facebook page. Keep a close eye on his Twitter page. Once he gives you the announcement that, hey, we're about to go live, then they will go live, and we'll have that for you guys live right here on YouTube.com. It's going to be back on the Tone 25. I want to give a big thank you to the producers of the show for letting me host the past couple of nights. I'm glad that Anthony Florio, you're fully recovered now, and it looks like you are just about geared up and getting ready to go. And I would let you fine folks know that because we're not going to be back until Saturday, the day of past New Year's, on the behalf of Anthony Florio and Michael Bullock and myself, we want to wish you guys a happy New Year. Hope you guys have a fun, safe, and enjoyable New Year. I know there's going to be a lot of New Year's parties going down tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I just got invited to one, and I'm going to be there. So I want to say from the bottom of my heart, Please be responsible. If you're gonna drink, please have a designated driver. We do not want to hear any fatalities or anything like that. So, like I said, be safe, have fun. Happy New Year to Anthony. Happy New Year to you, Michael Bullock, as well. And gentlemen,
Same to you, Fletch. Happy New Year.
yeah, thank you guys. And for you guys at home, Happy New Year to you guys. You guys are the best fans in the world.
Happy
Thank you
New
for
Year, everybody.
Thank you for watching this. Please like this video. Leave a comment at the bottom. What are your predictions on the New Year's 6 games? What's your prediction on the Winter Classic? And for Anthony Florio, for Michael Bullock, I'm Michael Flecha. You know the routine, everybody. Hugs to hand pounds. We are out. Have a good night, everybody. And for me, I'll see you guys Monday night for the Wrestling Forum. For Anthony and for Michael Bullock, they will see you guys on Saturday night on the Tone 25 right here on YouTube.com. We'll see you very soon. So long for now.